I'm playing Elder Scrolls Online, and this is now PlayStation version. I also have this on PC, and as you can see, there is a daily rewards, and it seems that the really reward is Crown Experience Scroll. Okay, let's take it. And I just look what kind of features there are. There's a riding stamina, Llavane Master Wizard. What else? Margrab of Eternal Doom, Crown Mimic Stone. I remember from PC that these stones that you can create or design different races. So whether it's a dwarf or dark elf. And okay, then there is Warjork, High Isle. And okay, same again. So we got our daily reward. A little bit again things to remember, the controls. And okay, by pressing options button we get our inventory and menu choices. And let's check. I think we got our daily reward. Do we have it here? Forgotten Adventures Strum Box. This box supposedly belongs to you, though your memory of it's hazy. Nonetheless, its contents will help you get back to your feet. Okay, let's look what is inside. And there are bow and staff. And it might be that I previous time I took some items from this box. And okay, then we have Jowl Gem, Lockpicks, Ass. And okay, not here. What about materials? Barley. Water. Not here. Slottable items. Okay, I think this I will use. So this last 2 hours. So let's use it. We get more experience. And what about character? Okay, no quest at the moment. And I actually, the first thing what I had is this typical Elder Scrolls Online Unlimited, and a couple of weeks ago I bought expansion, this Blackwood expansion, and installed it. So I have now also Blackwood area, Let's check what this...
You look like you've got your wits about you. Care to make a bit of extra gold working for Leyawiin's Ivory Brigade? I've been asked by my captain to find someone who can handle themselves. We need help with a delicate situation.
What's the situation?
Deadly secrets. Assassins. Murder. Now apparently a counselor has gone missing. Between the war, bandits, and cultists, the Ivory Brigade is like the Nord that tries to plug a leaking cask of mead, only to realize he doesn't have enough fingers.
What do you need me to do?
Talk to my commander, Captain Rian Liore. You can find him just outside the city gates, trying to appease some of the nobles. Tell him I sent you, and he'll put you right to work, I'm sure.
Well, could you speak, Captain Ryan Lord? Aha, deadly secret. This looks like... I remember in PC you have these special stones what you needed to collect, but this doesn't react in any way. I need to check controls. Okay. Right L2, you can swing. Ah, you can actually fire by holding. Block, L2 block. R2. R2 quick press shoot. R2 hold. Okay. There is also L2 and R2. Aha, I can block and shoot. It does two things. When you press L2, R2. And touchpad. We get map. And let's, what else? Okay, left stick you can move. And triangle buttons, you get more details. And quick slot is sometimes useful. So by pressing up arrow you get quick slot. I need to still remember. I seem to have only one weapon, so there is no change. Left arrow, you can change weapon. Okay, if you press right away. Now I actually can see that square button. Triangle. Okay, sometimes you just need to remember or memorize those. Now let's look where is our targets. LX switch level R1. Okay, we can get zoom up. Now we know that we are in the Blackwood area. And by pressing L1 you get high, you go far and zoom out. And R1 will zoom in. And this is the smallest or the most exact zoom. So it seems that there is some kind of Stallion Inn. And then Wayshrine, and here is the city. Or probably city. So okay, let's follow this road. There must be some kind of seed weapon button. You need to hold left arrow, it will shoot or put your weapon away or shot. Oh, hehehe. And then weapon away. Aha, we get more exploring experience, always nice. Is this friendly dog? Ah, we can dance near the dog. All kind of cats. There seems to be cats and horse, but we cannot say. There are nothing that if you ride with that horse, is it like stealing? There is no hint about that. Lot of dogs and cats. This is very interesting place.
The Three Banners War is fierce. Taking a break makes you appreciate the war more when you head back in. Speaking of breaks, I've got some beds for rent right here.
Okay, we can buy things. It seems that at the moment I only have 87 gold. But I think the prices must be very high. There are a lot of dogs and cats. On the Ivory Brigade, there are books by Tambria Lodius, Chief Counselor and member of Chamber of Legates, of the timeless lessons one might learn from the study of statecraft. Perhaps none is so lasting or inflexible as this. Those who hope for peace must keep themselves ready for war. While there are dangers in courting rivalries with neighboring states or succumbing to the temptation to resolve problems by force, it is far better to deter your enemies with show of strength. And should readiness fail, then the leader who has prepared for the worst will be much more ready to defend the realm than one who has neglected this duty. Regrettably, Leyawiin now finds itself in his age-old predicament. We can no longer look to Grelaith's legions for our defense. The Empire collapse has left us as independent city-state, surrounded by potential adversaries. While we have reiterated our neutrality in the Three Banners War many times, I fear that it's only a matter of time before one of the great alliances takes note of the dangerous fact. Blackwood is rich and unspoiled, and Leyawiin's position astride the mouth of the Nipper River makes it a prize of immense strategic value. Whoever controls Leyawiin can send a fleet from any port in Tempar straight to the Imperial City, deciding the contents of the Ruby Throne with one bold stroke. And even if neither Emeric or Rian are inclined to violate our neutrality, can they take the chance that their rivals won't? It seems likely to me that any of them might attempt to seize Leyawiin simply to keep it out of the other's hands. Given these facts, there is only one way to prevent the Three Banners War from spilling into Blackwood. Leyawiin must raise a strong army of its own, and do so immediately. That may seem like a ruinously expensive proposition, but I have given the matter some thought, and I believe we don't need a force that can outright defeat a concerted attack by one of the great alliances. All we need to do is present enough of defense that none of the alliances can count on seizing Leyawiin without sustaining losses that would fatally weaken them against their rivals. For that purpose, we don't need field a full legion of troops. A single reinforced brigade, well armed and well trained, should suffice in the short term. Captain Rian Lord, formerly of the Imperial Legion, has suggested the name Ivory Brigade in honor of the white horse that graces Leyawiin's emblem. I intend to put it before the champion of legates at our next meeting. Debating names may seem like a pointless exercise, but names have power to inspire, to motivate, and to make mere concepts into something real. Of course, the best name in the world means little without soldiers to carry it. Here the Empire troubles work to our advantage. Many Imperial legionaries stationed in Blackwood have received neither pay nor orders from Grudil in months. Their units have been effectively disbanded. I propose that we actively recruit these stranded legionaries to our cause by offering to make good on their back pay and confirming their role as protector of this province. Hundreds of experienced Imperial legionaries would represent an excellent beginning for the sort of fighting force Leyawiin must build. Around this rock-solid core of Imperial veterans, we can muster wars of local militia, native Blackwooders willing and able to fight at their homes. From their war experiences compared, the militia can learn military discipline and imperial fighting skills, and unless I am mistaken, our local militia should provide our veterans with invaluable knowledge of the terrain, people and conditions of Blackwood. These are dangerous times, but I am confident that with the right sort of leadership and support of the legates, our Ivory Brigade will prove equal to the test. There is searching. Interesting. I wonder if there is nothing like stealing. Gratia Motif, Dark Elf style. Maybe I take this. And it's super. Aha, it was Ransacker. Oh. I don't know if this was good thing to do, but looks like nothing serious hasn't happened. Can we learn? It was actually book. Crafty Motif, Dark Elf style. New collectibles. Racer style learned. Okay, so by reading this book, I learned how to make Dark Elf kind of armor, and being notes by Dr. Alphidia Lupus for a series of pamphlets on the major cultural styles of Tempar. Lupus was imperial internographer potentate, severing Kodak from TA 418 to 431. From the High Elves, it is natural to next consider the Dark Elves, as they originated in the Somerset Isles before the migration to Morrowind. Their culture can thus be considered an offshoot of the Altmeri, though in many ways that of the Dunmer is a reaction to that of Somerset rather than an extension. Also, Morian introduced me to a Dark Elfin associate of his, Divitfur, who is helping him on his Transnimasia project. I don't know what's all about, but Divya offered to help me with references on... okay. From Patton. Okay, so that was it. So okay, the book gave us ability to design Dark Elf armors. Or this whole thing is bookshelf. On Welkynd Stones, a work of recorded knowledge from the mind and devoted research of scholar Pelinal Mages Guild. More rudimentary information on astrogeological devices described here. Consult aerial fragments, a book by fellow scholar Lady Tempar of Darene. As you may well know, the Welkynd Stones are eyelid devices of great and as of yet unknown capabilities. The stones are commonly sought after sources of great thaumaturgic power. Not much can be said as to their origin, other than that multiple accounts exist to suggest that the stones themselves fell to Tamrion. Where they came from, what their purpose was, or if there was any purpose to these stones at all before the elders recovered them is unknown. What can be said, though, is that these stones have been used since the time of their first recorded landing to assist great mages with their work. Welkynd stones are blue in color and were fixtures of great eyelid cities. Since the time of eyelid's fall, the stones have been gathered and used for all manner of personal gains or ends. It is not to say that the stones have any ethical learnings. They remain and will forever be stones. It's worth noting that there is a type of Welkynd stone that will not be discussed at length in this book. This is because lot is known and yet also remains shrouded in mystery about the dark Welkynd stone. This variant seems to specifically stone magic of purely destructive kind. I am getting familiar with Blackwood expansion, and this is so typical to me that I sometimes like to read a lot of these Skyrim or Elder Scrolls books. Some of those books have very good stories. Maybe some books a little bit more explain things around you. This variant seems to specifically store magic of purely destructive. Without prompting, they have exploded, destroying countless researchers and treasure hunters who journeyed into eyelid cities on expedition to recover technologies and works. It appears as though the eyelids use dark Welkynd stone as an added layer of defense. Being so volatile, these stones are well known by expedition parties but have not been studied in contained settings. In short, they have never made it back to the school's laboratories or places studied intact. Welkynd and Great Welkynd stones, on the other hand, have been studied at great length, and compilation of that knowledge can be found within these pages. So, in this kind of inn there seems to be a lot of dogs and cats. And I just remember that there is cat on the bed. Bed seems to be reserved. I check what is my inventory. Usually it's so easy to have this kind of full, your inventory is full, and when I now see I actually have only one space left. So this is very, very typical problem. So I need to later think about something, because now I only seems to have 60 places in inventory, which isn't that much. Let's check map. To the right. So is it this way? Yes.
There is an aura of death about you. A quite dour and pervasive one at that. It's a good thing we found each other. I can patch you up in no time. Just need to identify the source of your spiritual malaise.
It seems that update for Final Fantasy came at the same time. Maybe I choose this second choice. I'm not exactly sure what is he talking about, but let's try.
Of course you do. To quote the famous ghost hunter Claudina Ildane, we mustn't shoulder the burdens of those who are gone. Their weight is light on the body but heavy on the mind.
What should I do?
Well, the next step is complicated. I need to identify the spiritual passenger you are dealing with. Have you been in any locations rife with death lately? Terrifying cave or haunted ruin? A forsaken forest, perhaps?
And this is a little bit tough. If I remember from previous, he actually didn't have any memory what have happened before, so his memory was clean, or like empty table, tabula rasa. So this is more like maybe I would select a ruin. I'm not sure.
The civilization are almost always riddled with spirits stuck remembering their old lives. Some are malicious, some are amicable. Did you meet anything specific between the crumbling walls?
Maybe because I don't know.
I sense a strong, defiant will. This entity relies on your ignorance to slowly overtake your thoughts and actions. If I'm correct, your passenger knows what they're doing and doesn't care about the danger you're in. Are you feeling all right? I believe you are afflicted with the lurking type spirit. These entities wait in lonely places for hosts and avoid detection by settling deep into the recesses of your mind. Shall I begin the cleansing rites?
Let's try what happens.
I cast you from this form, spirit. May Azora's light guide you home. Grandmother, you should be resting, not wandering about in the minds of others.
Just getting some fresh air, dear. You know it gets stuffy and cramped in my grave.
Interesting.
May the spirits leave you in peace. Safe travels.
This was... I didn't know anything. So I think the quest was somewhere, or quest giver, or next destination is somewhere here.
Yes, this one has wares to sell. Though if you wish to sell your own wares, I might just be interested.
Oh, maybe I can. I have so lot of extra stuff that maybe it's time to sell my own things. Yeah, let's sell it all now. leave these. Maybe doesn't get anything about this. Doesn't get anything. These are actually, if I try to make something, it doesn't get anything. Seems like that I don't get anything. Only those what are really special or needed. There is cave. I just checked before going to the... Aha! I got exploring experience. Okay, level up rewards. Okay, here is claim rewards. I have so much stuff that I cannot. I need to sell something or destroy.
Oh, hello. Can you come over here and help me?
Ah, there is a nice looking book. Legend of Veyond, Guide and Ghost Story by Llavane Gilaram. Deep within those crumbling walls, where memories are said to speak, and the dead mingle with the living, it's a treasure unlike any other. Its origins are unknown, but those brave enough to venture in the ruins of Veyond has brought back the words that were spoken to them by those who died long ago. Most notably, the ghost of young adventurer who battled monsters and night creatures through the halls in search of a cure for his ailing mother, a sickness. He can be seen fighting his enemies in a corridor buried beneath the ground. Each time he staggers under the assault, he talks to his mother as if he can hear her voice. There are moments when he speaks to her as if to treasure her that he is coming back, but other times tears can be seen on his face while he tries to placate her angry spirit. In different parts of the ruin, children can be heard playing among the rocks. A blacksmith's hammer can be heard, but only on nights where the stars hide behind the clouds. Rarer still during storms, voice chanting and speaking an unknown language can be heard just before thunder rumbles through the cracks in the walls. Whatever else beyond holds, one thing is clear: it gives neither its dead nor its secret quietly.
You look like a hardy soul, unconcerned with the prospect of death by trick, trap, or misadventure. How do you feel about helping a defenseless scholar from Gideon unearth a little history from Undertow Cavern? Oh, and can you swim?
Tell me what you need.
Have you heard of Llavane the Magnificent? He was a famous Nibonese Minotaur hunter. but his final resting place was lost to time. After years of searching, I think I finally found the site of Llavon's mausoleum.
Why do you need my help?
I hope to recover proof that this is Llavon's tomb. His armor, helm, and sword would do nicely. But I didn't get far before I found the cavern overrun with goblins and minotaurs, and parts of it are flooded. I'll pay you well to help me.
I'll help you search the cavern.
No one in Leyawiin realizes that Undertow Cavern is the final resting place of a great hero. Let me secure my belongings and I'll meet you inside. Time to grab the bull by the horns and wade right in.
Why do you think this is where Llavane is buried?
I found accounts of Llavon's burial in a shining mausoleum on a hill outside Leyawiin. He was laid to rest with his arms and armor, relics of his many victories. This is the place, but goblins infest the caverns, and minotaurs too.
You mentioned goblins and minotaurs.
I suppose goblins aren't much of a surprise. They infest many caves in this region, although I had hoped I wouldn't run into any. The minotaurs I didn't expect. None have been seen so close to Leyawiin in centuries.
So where did these minotaurs came from?
That's the very question I was wondering about. Wherever they came from, these minotaurs seem very hostile. Enraged, even. I've heard all kinds of fighting inside. I think they're angry at the goblins. Do minotaurs and goblins get along?
I'm curious about these relics we are after.
You would be, I suppose. Well, Llavane the Magnificent had a golden helm. He wore armor of impervious mail. And he wielded a sword of exceptional sharpness.
Tell me about Lavane's armor.
The stories say that Llavane had the most beautiful mail, impervious to sword, arrow, and spear. We don't know much about armor of his era, but he was known as the Magnificent. I can only surmise his armor was quite splendid.
You said Llavane had really sharp sword.
Lavane's sword was so sharp, it was said to be able to cut the air itself. No, that isn't right. I suppose any sword will cut air. Ah, that's it. This one could cut through armor like air. That's what I was told. The stories say that Llavane had the most beautiful mail, impervious to sword, arrow, and spear. We don't know much about armor of his era, but he was known as the Magnificent. I can only surmise his armor was quite splendid.
What you tell me about Lavane's helm?
As I understand it, the helm was a gift from the Lord of Leyawiin in gratitude for Lavane's many heroic deeds in Blackwood. The stories say it was fashioned in the shape of a roaring dragon's face.
It is possible that the details have been exaggerated over time.
Well, it has been many hundreds of years. I suppose Lavane's arms and armor might not be much to look at now, but in any condition they would be of immense historical value. I simply know it. That's because it was swallowed by the earth. One night, 700 years ago, people living nearby heard a terrible sound. When they came to look in the morning, they found that the whole mausoleum had fallen into the caves underneath the hill.
Why did the Nippons build the mausoleum here?
Because the caves beneath this hill were the site of Lavane's last and greatest battle. The mausoleum was a monument to his victory, as well as his tomb. Until Undertow Cavern swallowed it up anyway.
Okay, this is place where to go. I go to check first the first quest what I was given. Was it really this way? Okay, still little bit forward.
What do you want?
You have my word. If the Counselor is in Leyawiin or the surrounding countryside, the Ivory Brigade will find her.
Okay, here is our quest destination.
Not now, citizen. Can't you see I have my hands full at the moment? I'm sure a guard or one of my Brigadines can assist you.
I heard you were looking for help. Brigadine Antonius sent me.
Why didn't you say so? Leyawiin's problems are legion, and now the Wood Elf Archer's predictions seem to be coming true. Damn these old Imperial secrets. Counselor Jirik has disappeared, and the Ivory Brigade is already spread too thin for my liking.
Tell me more about this Wood Elf Archer and the Imperial secret.
The Wood Elf, Everly Sharparrow. She brought news that the Dark Brotherhood was targeting members of the Elder Council. All because of some secret of the Longhouse Emperors. We took her warning seriously, but Jirik refused Brigadine protection.
You think the Dark Brotherhood harmed Council Jirik?
With that guild of assassins, I'm not sure what to think. But Jirik is missing, and I don't have enough Brigadines at the ready to conduct a proper search. You look capable. So, care to earn some gold and help us determine the Counselor's fate?
I help find Council Jirik.
Here, let me update your map. These are places Jirik visits during her daily routine. If something befell her, it happened somewhere along this path. Meanwhile, I have Everly Sharparrow checking locations in the city. She was very eager to help.
What else can you tell me about Councilor Jirik?
Councilor Jirik was a member of the Imperial Elder Council, back when we still had an empire. Now her title is mostly ceremonial. But she continues to assist the legates by serving as an intermediary with the local nobility.
The legates?
Since the collapse of the Empire and the dissolution of the Elder Council, Leyawiin has become an independent city-state. Countess Caro sits on the throne, but the Chamber of Legates governs the city.
Yeah, Countess, but the legates are in charge.
I suppose the Countess is technically the highest authority in Leyawiin, but she leaves the administration of the city to the Chamber of Legates. Leviticus, another former council elder, leads this august body, along with Tebezeko and Amhalu.
Tell me about the location you mark on my map.
Counselor Jirik is a creature of habit. Her daily routine is to stroll along the river and stop to read near a cave across the way. While Everly Sharparrow examines spots the Counselor frequents in the city, you should check these locations.
Tell me about the situation here in Leyawiin.
On paper, Countess Caro rules Leyawiin, but in practice, the Chamber of Legates governs the city. Legates Tebezeko and Amhalu, and Counselor Leviticus, they handle day-to-day tasks. Me? I'm commander of the Ivory Brigade, Leyawiin's militia.
You mentioned your soldiers were stretched too thin.
Indeed. Since the fall of the Empire, the Ivory Brigade had to redouble its efforts to replace the Imperial legions. We maintain active defenses in the north to keep the ongoing war at bay. But we have our hands full with refugees, bandits, and such.
Ongoing war?
The Three Banners War. Let the alliances fight over the Ruby Throne as long as they leave us in peace. I just wish I had more soldiers to spare for this new threat that Everly Sharparrow brought to our attention.
Who's Eva Sharparrow?
Everly Sharparrow is an adventurer from Valenwood, though I get the sense she's relatively new at the job. She recently arrived with news of a threat against the former members of the Imperial Elder Council. I was skeptical at first, but now...
Tell me about Truth. What did Eva say?
She told us that the late Emperor Leovik's steward was murdered by the Dark Brotherhood. Apparently, it pertains to some secret of the Longhouse Emperors. But those details she discussed with Councillor Leviticus.
And how about that the members of Elder Council fit in?
Everly found a number of documents pertaining to this secret. One of these contained a list of names. The steward and some of the councillors. She assumed that since the steward had already been killed, the rest of the list might be next.
Okay, we now have all the information.
Hiring a common sellsword. I thought Captain Rian and his Ivory Brigade were better than that.
I'm not sure how I feel about the Ivory Brigade employing mercenaries, but if you can help find Councillor Jirik, please, do everything you can. The Councillor, she's a good person.
I watched the Councillor head off this morning, the same as every other day. She keeps to a regular schedule. That's why I came to Captain Rian straight away when she failed to show up for her meeting with these nobles.
Okay, I check Leyawiin.
Are you really trusting the fate of Councillor Jirik?
It seems to be a night. Aha, and because it's night, almost all the places will be closed. Just looking if something is open. Okay, chapel is open. Oh, I don't have this one.
What constitutes as mead around here is a vile insult to all Nords. What do they do to their bees? Feed them moon sugar?
Some come here looking for news of work. I unfortunately have nothing to offer, but others around Leyawiin just might. Keep your ears open and your hands ready.
So there seems to be a lot of shrines.
May Arcade drive back the darkness forevermore.
Ah, there is a letter. It has come to my attention that the two of you are looking for work of nature not normally sanctioned by those who step outside the shadows. I too am searching for people who are unafraid of night and have no qualms about courting danger. Assist me and you shall be rewarded as befits your involvement. If you are interested, there's a relic I require. A sacred sickle housed at the Shrine of Nocturnal to the northeast to Leyawiin, not far from Fort Redmain. Bring the said sickle to Bloodrun Cave, and I shall make sure you don't live to see poor day for the rest of your lives. Ah, there is even.
This edifice is the work of Saint Kalados. By all accounts, he was an unusual man, even by First Era standards. According to legend, he dreamed of the mad elf slayer Pelinal every night, and those dreams drove him to build this chapel.
I remember Pelinal pokes from Skyrim. And okay, there is even one book here. The Song of Pelinal, Volume 1. On its name, editor notes, volumes 1 to 6 are taken from the so-called Reman manuscript located in the Imperial Library. It's a transcription of older fragments collected by an unknown scholar of the early Second Era. Beyond this, little is known of the original sources of these fragments. Some of which appear to be from the same period, perhaps even from the same manuscript. But as no scholarly consensus yet exists on these dating these fixed fragments, no opinions will be offered here. That he took the name Pelinal was passing strange, no matter his later sobriquets, which were many. This was an Elvish name, and Pelinal was core than traits, and not much given to irony. Pelinal was much too grim for that. Even youth, you for white hair and trouble followed him. Perhaps his enemies made Pelinal of their own in their tongue, but that is doubtful, for it means glorious knight, and he was neither to them. Certainly many others added that name during his days in Tamriel. He was Pelinal the White Strake because of his left hand, made of killing light. He was Pelinal the Bloody, for he drank in victory. He was Pelinal Insurrection, because he gave the crusade a face. He was Pelinal in Triumph, as the word eventually became synonymous, and men at arms gave thanks to the aid when they saw his banner coming through war. He was Pelinal the Blamer, or he was quick to admonish those allies of his that favored tactics that ran counter to his. That is word theory, and he was Pelinal the Third, though whether his was because some said he was God Kaiser, who had incarnated twice before already, or that simply he was third vision given to Bernie and on Alessia, the prayers of liberation before he fought the quarters of rebellion is unknown. I found Lorebook. 9 commands of the 8 divines. By intercession of Saint Alessia, you may be so filled with grace at the strength and wisdom that come from grace, that through these teachings you may come to the true meaning of 8 divines and their glories. Convey to man's mind all the manifold subtleties of truth, and virtue may not be done, where all the seas ink and all the skies parchment upon which their wisdom were freed. Yet Agathos in his wisdom, knowing how impatient is man, how loath he is to travel upon the hard roads of truth, has allowed his 9 simple commands to be made manifest with the power, clarity, and concise definition. Zenithar says, be kind and generous to the people of the umbrella, protect the weak, heal the sick, and give to the needy. Archive says, honor the earth, its creatures, and the spirits, living and dead. God and tend the bounties of the mortal world, and don't profane the spirits of the dead. Mother says, live soberly and peacefully, honor your parents, and preserve the peace and security of home and family. Zenithar says, work hard and you will be rewarded. Spend wisely and you will be comfortable. Never steal or you will be punished. Kynareth says, use nature's gift wisely, respect her power and wear her fury. Dipela says, open your heart to the noble secrets of art and love. Treasure the gifts of friendship, seek joy and inspiration in the mysteries of love. Julianus says, know the truth, observe the law. Wise in doubt, seek wisdom from the wise. Agathos says, obey your emperor, study the covenants, worship the 8, do your duty, and heed the command of the saints and Christ. The 8 says, above all else, be good to one another. If only one man might look in the mirror of these commands, and see the reflected, 'tis the bliss that might enfold them. Were they serve in strict obedience to these commands, he would be cast down and made contrite and humble. The obedient man may come to the altars of 8 and be blessed, and may receive the comfort and healing of the 8, and may give thanks to his manifold blessings. Heedless, the wicked man turns away, and forsaking the simple wisdom granted to him by the all-wise and all-knowing 8, he lives in sin and ignorance all days of his life. He bears the awful burden of his crimes, and before men and God his wickedness is known, and neither blessing nor comfort may he expect from the altars and shrines of 8. Yet the wicked and foolish are not doomed, for the infinite mercies. The 8 has said, repent and do good works, and the fountain of grace shall once more spill forth upon you. Repent your crimes, tend unto the emperor the vines of gold, that they may be used to spread the faith and its benefits for all men. Do yourself good works, redeem your infamy by signest deeds, so to all men and aid to the good fame of righteous man. You may once again approach the altars and shrines of the Sable to receive the comfort and blessings of the 8. Okay, now it explained that the red means stealing. At least chapel was open. It's nice to see that. Is it still... okay, it's still evening. What is in the neighborhood? Okay, here is Mage's Guild. Nice. Lot of books. Persistence of Daedric Veneration by Lady Cinnabar of Thanet. It believed that old god Frastus of Elnir writes in what he pleased to call these histories. You think that the modern society bias against the revenues of Daedric princes was rooted in some kind of instinctive revulsion against the Lord of Oblivion, as born based on the events of unspeakable cruelty that took place thousands of years ago. This is absurd on the face of it, as the peasant in his field, the cobbler in his shop, or the solicitor in his office, if he fears the trader lords because of the ancient practices of wild elves, and all of you shall get will be a blank look. The peasant, cobbler, and solicitor only fear Daedra, and Daedra fears it because they have been told to by established religion and academia, because their neighbors believe the same thing. So Frastus Daedra worship survives in Tamriel only at the level of world-beating cults. On the contrary, it's easy to show that veneration for Daedra is widespread and widely accepted among the folk of Tamriel, despite the desires and opinions of priests and professors. Ask the hunter why he mutters a prayer to hinder sin as he draws his bow. Ask the gardener why she asks Mephala to spare her vines from slugs and worms. Ask the guardsman why he invokes the Wheeler of Poetiad as he draws his bird. And one doesn't have to look hard to find worshippers of Sanguine during Carnival or Hemaus Mura among scholars at any time. What of the Aslanders of Morrowind, who still venerate the so-called Good Daedra? What of the spirit wardens of Menevia, who follows Azura? What of the jovial Landmaster of Rimen, who celebrate Clavius Vile? What indeed of the Kagik of the Southern Realms, rather than appear the Oblivion Lords? The catfolk for elsewhere venerate them openly, scarcely drawing a distinction between Hydra and Daedra. The Kagik recognizes the benevolent aspects of the princes, offering them respect at the minimum, and often admiration. Azura is a popular object of worship for Kagik the magician. Sekorat appears the feline taste for vile mischief, and the souls of the dead are based in charge of Namira. The Frastus would have you believe every mortal in Tamriel cringes in horror at the mention of Daedra, and mocks my own work when I show him what a charlatan he is. Or can we explain his petty hostility in another way? Wasn't it Frastus himself who approached me at the Dragonstar conclave of our Guardian scholars? Frastus who pointed out it. Was the 16th of Sunstorm Frastus who succeeded with me later that evening to appropriately celebrate Sanguine's summoning day? I believe he took it rather personally when I refused his advances, for it was shortly thereafter that his unwarranted criticism of my work began to appear in the journals. Yes, perhaps there lies the explanation.
The Nibbanese might be a hedonistic lot, but they do know how to make a person feel welcome.
Another puzzle. Interview with Countess Caro. Conducted by Mercury Catras on behalf of the citizens of Leyawiin after the collapse of Empire and disbanding of the Imperial Elder Council. MC, why did you decide to cede your authority to the Chamber of Legates? CC, I have yielded nothing to anyone. I am still the Countess of Leyawiin City and the surrounding province. That is my birthright and my sacred duty. What I have done is appointed the Chamber of Legates to handle the day-to-day affairs of the city, while I turn my attention to loftier matters. MC, what sort of loftier matters are you dealing with, Countess? CC, oh, the loftiest I assess you, but let us talk about other things. Such delicate concerns are not meant for public consumption. Very well. How did you go about selecting members to serve in the Chamber of Legates? CC, well, after much research and deliberation, I settled on the triumvirate of legates to facilitate decision-making and to make sure no legislation could be delayed due to the lack of clear majority. The math works in our favor. Even if they cannot all come to the same conclusion, there will be always at least 2 legates who can agree. Majority rules and all that. As for who should serve, well, the worst members were obvious. I wanted to make sure that all predominant groups with interests in the region were represented, and both Go and Amhalu have served their communities since the time of Lofhang's emperors. With Kagik and Argonian, it stood to reason that I also needed to find Imperial. Luckily, Councillor Leviticus was between jobs after the Elder Council disbanded. MC, I've heard rumors that you and legates sometimes find yourselves at odds over certain decisions they have made. CC, why did you hear that? Is there someone whose head I need to have lopped off? Joking. Oh, I leave the Chamber of Legates to do their jobs, and leave me to contemplate those awful matters I mentioned earlier. I sometimes wish they didn't take up so much room in the castle, but beyond that, I appreciate and support the work of legates. Even Councillor Leviticus, who I had issues with during his tenure on the Elder Council. MC, so it's safe to say there is bad blood between you and Councillor Leviticus. CC, where did you get that idea? Governmental officers have disagreement all the time. It goes with the territory. But we both have interest on Leyawiin and Blackwood at heart, even if we have different approaches to achieving those ends. That's what makes life at court so interesting. MC, speaking of court, I heard you refused to see High Chancellor Abrun Tar when he visited the city last month. Is that true? CC, Abrun Tar is consular old bastard. I am mere than convinced that he played some role in the unfortunate collapse of our beloved empire and his start of his damn war. He can't go for the oblivion for all I care, and you are correct, he isn't welcome within confines of Leyawiin Castle. MC, the 3 banners war, you must counsel Leyawiin to be safe from that ongoing conflict, as safe as we can be, considering our proximity to Imperial City. Actually, this Abhor Tarn, I have met him in PC version, what I have played. Rian and the Ivory Brigade has thus been able to keep the first of fighting from reaching our province. I expect the Brigadines to maintain the sanctity of our borders until a resolution can be reached. Thank you for your time, Countess Caro. Oh, nothing of it. I do enjoy taking a few moments to share my thoughts with the little people, provides a break from those loftier matters I must deal with, quite refreshing in small doses. Wines of Blackwood, the general love of good food and drink is well known throughout Tamriel, and no imperial table setting is complete without a bottle or jug of rich wine to accompany the meal. Yet when enthusiasts gather to discuss their favorite vintage, most assume that the only wines that will be discussed are the various famously robust rich blends of Llavane Highlands. It is author's estimation that this grievous oversight. Every region of the empire produces wine of some merit, including of course the province of Blackwood. An authority survey of all the winters in such large region would, of course, be beyond the scope of this humble transcript. Instead, let us turn our attention to the styles and characteristics of wine from this little regarded viticulture area. Leyawiin and surrounding Blackwood countryside are among the warmest and most humid regions in the empire. And this of course means that different varieties of grape and growing techniques are required here than might find in Colombia. Grapes in his climate ripen swiftly, lending themselves to sweet complex wines with strong flower and fruity notes. We begin with left banks wines of the hills west of Nibe River, close by the dry plains of Ankina. This of course is the most and part of the Trans-Niben region, and the wines made here are the most Colombian in character of any Leyawiin. Red varieties such as Queen's Tear and the Neriant Vine do quite well here. The mild winters and the long growing season ripen the grapes early. Trans-Niben hills produce sweet yet robust wines that can be truly extraordinary in the hands of master vintner. Moving east, we come to the eaves of Niben forest, hotter and more humid than the region west of the river. This area is not well suited for most red grapes. However, white grapes varieties such as Petit de Grey, the White Moon, and the Great Ambrosia flourish in these forest-shadowed vineyards. They are, of course, among the sweetest and most fruity of all imperial wines, yet that should not detract from any assessment of their quality. Crisp, elegant, and refreshing at their best, the Niben forest whites need not be ashamed in any imperial lord killers. Farthest east, on the margins of Black Moors, you finally come to the lands where grapes simply do not well. Sweltering heat and humidity makes the experiments of vineyards all but impossible. Necessity is the mother of invention, of course, so the people of Blackwood's eastern borders instead make wine of a sort from what they have on hand: figs, blackberries, blueberries, and even peaches. One might be forgiven for assuming that this could only produce glowingly sweet fruit juice, and in many cases one would correct. But some of these fruit wines are surprisingly balanced and suitable complement to the spicy cuisine favored in the area. No one would suggest cellaring Blackmoor's peach wine or serving it to guests with a selective plate to wash down a homesteader's dinner on a warm summer evening. One could force. We found a skill book. Alchemy. Sepskis, using poison known by name only easily suspicion. The truly perfect assassination is one that remains undetected. I wouldn't dare brag of those slain by my concusstions for fear of breaking the tender illusion of natural death. I have penned down one of my favorite mixers, in hope the reader will seek out more of their own. The preparation is unorthodox, yet it has served me well. I learned the name Sep from a sweet red cutlass I courted for the time. She was unfaithful, but her kiss still filled me with delight. Prepare a fire, burn down the coals. Atop that, place a large cauldron. This will be your crucible. Add to this drop of your own blood. It will sizzle when the pot is tempered. You not only need the residue of blood for flavor and scent. Scrape the salt from a mangrove leaf and powder it with the spores from yellow mushroom. You can find this growing in most of any field you lie down with your face to the soil. While the crucible is still hot, pour a decanter of treacle tea in, letting the steam escape. In short time it will reduce, and to that stickiness you will add the aforementioned powder. Once all ingredients are combined, it's ready to use. On the skin, it breaks down the strength in a matter of hours. For a faster reaction, ingestion or wounding is best. I have yet to calculate an antidote for this recipe, so I advise using the utmost caution when handling. Blackwood, Foreign Adversaries Part 2. By me sees fire and personal aid to Keshu the Blackwood. Now the declaration of formation of a Bonheart Pact and abolition of Arconian slavery does result in the immediate cessation of Dark Elf slaver activity. It would take almost a full year for most of the Dark Elf province and holdings to comply with the order of the tribunal, and even then there were Dark Elf houses that refused to accept the new accords. This resulted in a few awkward situations for Keshu and Blackwood Legion as it toured the land of Morrowind as the initial Argonian representatives to the Alliance. We met with a good amount of fear and hatred during those early days of Alliance. Some Dark Elves became very uncomfortable when heavily armed force or Argonian approaching their town or village. At these we were turned away at best or attacked by settlements with sizable military. Others, though, having heard the story of Battle of Ebonheart, appeared gratefully for our help, and we were happy to welcome us into their homes. While such treatment is more common now, back then it was nearly unheard of, and we were both surprised and thankful for every friendly face we encountered. We spent that first year of the Alliance in Dark Elf territory, making our presence known, and working to make sure that all of the tenets of the agreement were adhered to. We also look in many of the newly freed Argonians, giving the ones who decided not to return to Black Marsh or to try make a go of it as a free successful in Morrowind an immediate purpose and place to belong. In this way, the Blackwood Legion continued to grow even as it traveled throughout Morrowind. Eventually, we arrived at Mournhold as quest of the tribunal. We spent nearly a month camped outside the city and regularly met with the Almalecs and other important Dark Elf and Nord officials. Guess who participated in discussions to bolster the defense of Pact by forming an army of the Alliance, which would include forces donated by each of the member nations. As we were looking for purpose, guess who volunteered the Blackwood Legion to serve as the backbone of the Allied army. In time, Kesso would become not only a war hero, but one of the most generous leading Pact forces. Before that initial year had ended, Kesso and Blackwood Legion would prove their worth to the Pact by once again saving the day. This time it was to deal with traders crossing the mountains from the west. Rumors abounded that the raiders were either wanted by the Daggerfall Covenant or were Covenant soldiers in disguise. But we were never able to prove that. When reports of large bands of raiders attacking Dark Elf settlements in western Morrowind reached Mournhold, Kesso offered to take the Pact army on hunting expedition. Kesso's forces consist of mostly Blackwood legionaries, posted by a contingent of Nord soldiers and a squadron of Dark Elf mages and healers. We moved quickly, following the path of destruction left by the raiders, until we finally caught them in Darno Pass. Kesso divided our forces, sending half our contingent around the cut of the raiders' escape path in the mountains, while the rest of our troops formed an arrowhead and advanced on raided position. Instead of falling fast, the raiders decided to turn and run. That's when our troops wandered out of the rocky foothills and we caught the raiders between us. After all the trouble they caused, we expected them to put up more fight. Let's talk first.
Some days I regret coming here for work. Everyone is so concerned about their appearance. My current client wants a potion that will remove his wrinkles. To me, wrinkles are a sign of a life well lived.
I wonder if we have more talk option or choices, or whether it requires that you need to first join to the guild. Clan priests Argonian shrine to cities, a record by culture of House of Waverers in Riman. By first impressions, there is nothing that stands out about the shrine to cities that resides next to the main road through Grandbridge. This isn't to say that the shrine isn't noteworthy, only that the first impressions of them misleading. Building is tall, towering at a height that rivals most of the trees nearby, and the height is only exaggerated by the lack of structures that appear around the shrine. The walls are made of thick stone and slabs, and faces peer out of the stonework at every corner of the structure, but still, in comparison to the chamber towering the near distance, the shrine isn't impressive. Inside the shrine, the walls peer in closely, invading the space which is only large enough to host 4 bodies. Even with the 3 walls left open to the outside world, it is hard to breathe within the shrine itself. Standing in the center of space, feel as though there is no air at all. There are places where the stones have fallen or been knocked to the side. This continues on the inside of the shrine as well, and with a distinct lack of light, gives the shrine a dilapidated look and fitting of most places of worship. The priest didn't seem concerned when asked about the shrine appearance, though they did seem offended at the suggestion that the fallen stone slabs should be set to rights. After some conversation and careful questioning, it became clear that the priest viewed the shrine stave as being a marker of city's work. Fixing the wall of the shrine would be an act of sacredness. While it may not be clear cities had any direct impact on the shrine appearance, if the stones were knocked loose due to his power or if failed at any time to play, it certainly has impact on the priests who care for it. Okay. Again we found skill book. Enchanting. The Teleringer, the Artificer. The origin of mystic runestones found scattered across Tamriel is obscure and uncertain. Even their nature and material composition is a matter of hot debate among the sages of Crystal Tower. The venerable Andrika Spapiar of Mythier history holds that certain difficult passages in Turna's Turan indicate that runestones were already here when the Sword Sailor arrived from Old Armeris. However, knowing the many-hued Sapphire of Enchantment contains that the date from the early Mayrineh era and are the unintended consequence of the island wizard experiment gone awry. Whatever the truth of the origin, after generation of study by the finest magical minds in the Somerset Isles, their various properties have nearly all been identified, and their uses in the enchantment of arms, armor, and ornaments are well understood. For general classification, they fall into three categories, which where latter-day mages have dubbed potency, aspect, and essence. For enchantment purposes, these three types of runestones can be understood as mystically complementary, or only combining one of each category can be enchanter great glyph, our term for the magical substance we use to endow an item with sorcerer power. However, though we know how to runestones to create magical items, the enigma remains. What are they? We have named their three standard categories: potency, aspect, and essence. But what does that mean? Even the great Farid's Antique, who gave them these names, even he, when asked what they meant, merely shrugged and replied, "Those are names that feel right to me." Even the fact that there are three kinds of runestones generates debate, as it seems to contradict the Anupadu theorem, which posits that the duality is the foundation of Orbis. Camillon of Lilian asserted that it was impossible that there were only three types of runestones, and spent his last 200 years of his life searching for fourth, convinced that the proper classification called for his entities to appear in the dual pairs. He never found his coordinate runestone, which he dubbed celerity, but he insisted that till the end that his theory was sound. Was Camillon right? Celerity runestones exist, but in some state of reality that makes them imperceptible to normal mortals. That is a question that is so far unanswerable. Okay, this I have read this. Risa loved to write this many times, so I take this. This is so familiar from the Skyrim books. The Feast of Saint Coelicia 4. Parfons Celicandente expert on Nippen's accusing. 5th course. Author's note: the 5th course, which features game and poultry, was given the broad interpretation of beasts of the air. Of note, Leyawiin proximity to black moors, where this can include a variety of non-avian creatures. Cliff Strider membrane. stewed in strips. This dish is adjacent to stew, but I've been told by dark elves that to call it such is an insult. This dish, installed in the province of Morrowind, was most likely served by Pasolus as facile apology to one of his ministers. Amos Devani, the emperor, was actually bedding Minister Devianis 5 at the time. Skewer patch. With yogurt and pistachios, again, Pasolus takes common fare, and though use of excellent ingredients and skillful preparation creates a dish fit for an imperial banquet. Bats were frequently encountered creatures of Blackwood's marshes, and for many local fisherfolk they represented an abundant source of meal when fishing was poor. Netty bats were skewered and roasted, all while being blasted in yogurt sauce and topped with chopped nuts. So popular was this dish that it led to the complete collapse of Nipen's bat population. Reman's pottage. Finished with brandy, this dish is made largely in jest. Though pottage is common fare, as we are skewered bats, preceding this Emperor Pasolus offers anything but common food. Rather than legumes or pulses skimmed in broth, Pasolus serves pottage made from the eyes of ducks, the same ducks whose tongues he served at the meal start. It is said that Emperor Pasolus refused to let any guest know the pottage ingredients until all had finished their serving. Stuffed swan. Garnish unknown, this dish remains one of the most well-known of those third of them called Pasolus farce. We know it was intended to be swan stuffed with a variety of fillings, though it was said that the swan were stuffed so tightly that, when set up on the table, they exploded. Satin and Damascus became sodden with grease and gravy to the chagrin of all the table. Jelly pigs and other pigs served with a cream anise sauce, the final dish of pigs that have been softened using wood elf bringing techniques for almost certainly a feast of the eyes. Sadly, accounts of this course are sparse, given the gloom that had descended over the room from the exploding swans served immediately prior. The sixth course. Author notes, as with most feasts, the meat course is thought to be where the central theses of the chef and host are laid bare for the assembled diners. What Emperor Pasolus may have attempted to instill with his course is unknown, only perhaps that he sought to drown St. Corliss' martyrdom with decadence. Roasted camel, with lamb, chicken, eggs and nuts, Pasolus doubtless meant for this farce to be most talk about this of the night, though we know that his stuffed swan is the dish most often remembered. Still, the camel stuffed with the lamb stuffed with the chicken stuffed with eggs, and eggs coated in nuts was a sight to behold, particularly since his chefs managed to bisect the center Gratia tableside. The aroma of cinnamon was said to linger for weeks. Dormies on a bed of verms, a customary show of decadence. Pasolus was said to have employed every urchin in Leyawiin for several weeks, while amassing enough dormies to feed his quest. He fattened them on a diet of goose fat to the point that, when eaten, even the bones of these creatures dissolved on the tongue. Black cockerel served in a tortoise shell. Black cockerel breed of white rose is known for its toxic flesh, which is stained black by its diet of poisonous beetles. Pasolus adopts another innovation Argonian for his dish, which is to have the common painted tortoise eat the crockery's flesh. else the tortoise can negate the poison. It's then the simple matter of killing the tortoise before it fully digests as meal, roasting the creature and serving it the quest. Though the meat of tortoise is uninspired, the savory and decadent black cockery flesh in its cut is a price of its senses. Since the Heart Village, with sugar cane, the dish was probative choice as many quests found the symbolic act of eating sense hard to be problematic. However, those that did choose the sap of organ were amazed at how tender the normally tough muscle of heart had been rendered. Marrow and tendons with brown sauce. The dish was invented by Ivory Brigade, the chef of Bratzel's predecessor, and remained a favorite of imperial court. It featured the culinary tradition of imperial cuisine with Akabiri influence, particularly in the scene of seasoning and preparation of tendons, which were dipped in ox bones as implements for scooping marrow. Okay, this took back, but I still go back and try to find someone so that I can join the guild. Aha, this was a kind of balcony. Flying books. Ballad of Navid the Singer. In old Rakada's days, men forebears came ashore. Among them were swear singers, according to lore. A forebear was 13, noble answer all, or there was named Navid. The song is of fall. Navid loved Sari loved him not. Her heart was bloody to Ilhub, the 13th finest shot. Lip plied his bow in practice of the beach. Navid approached with empty hands, and the hill was in reach. While Lahub reached the target, Navid called up his hihal, slew his love with a circuit bird, and watched his rival die. Back to Yapgut, Peachhead went into his tent, fell for a semi-nose bird, dishonored as was spent. Remanada Chapter One, Sangre Thor and Birth of Reman. And in those days Grelaith was dead, save in memory only, for through war and slug famine and iniquitous ruled the Switch splits from the east, and Colavia's extremis lasted some 400 of years, and the earth was sick with sundering. Once were the western kings of Anvil and Sarchal the Vergret and Liore became true pride and habit, as like thief barons and forgot covenant. In the heartland things were not better as Arcadians and foremost princes lay in drugged stupor or the studies of very vileness, and no one sat on the throne in dusted generation. Snakes and the warnings of snakes went unheeded, and the land bled with the coast and the deepest holes on the cold harbors. It is said that even the symbol Abdal, the amulet of kings of glory, had been lost, and its people saw no reason to find it. That it was in darkness the King Groll set out from the lands beyond Loostville with total of questing. Knights numbered 18, less 1, all of them Western sons and daughters. For Roll has seen in his visions the snake to come and sought to hear all the borders of his warriors. And this host bred at last spirit who resembled none other than Estia, queen of ancient times, who bore in her left hand the dragon fire of Agathos, and in her right hand the jewels of Covenant, and on her breast wound that spill void on her mangled feet, and seeing Estia and Simmel Abadal, Harold and his knight fainted and said to take knees, and prayed for all things to become as right. And to them the spirit said, I am healer of all men, I am the mother of the dragons. But as you run so many times from me, so I'll suffer until you learn my pain, which renders you and all this land dead. And the spirit fled from them, and they spill among hills and forests to find her, all grieving that they had become a villainous people. Roll and Siltane were the only ones to find her, and the king spoke to her, saying, I love you, sweet Aless, sweet wife of Sword and Ortel, and the sacred Bull, and would render this land alive again, not through pain, but through return of Dragonfire's covenant, join the east and west to throw all of ruin, and the seal bore witness to the spirit opened it naked to his king, carving on nearby rock the words, and rolled it love on the hillock before dying the sight of the union. Where the 15 other knights found King Groll, they saw him dead after his labors against Mount of Mud, and they parted each in their way, and some went mad, and the two that returned to their homeland beyond the Twill would say nothing of Roll, and acted a saint for him. But after 9 months the Mount of Mud became as a small mountain, and there were whispering among the Sperical and Bulls, a small community of believers gathered around that growing hill during the days of its first churning, and there were the first to name it Golden Hill, Sangretor, and it was the shepherd's head Yenna who dared climb the hill when she heard his first cry, and at peak she saw what it had yielded, an infant she named Reman, which is light of the man. And in the child's forehead was the symbol Apadal, alive with the dragon fires of yore and divine promise, none dared obstruct, said Yenna when she climbed the steps of white cold tower to place the babe Reman on his throne, where he spoke as Arad, saying, Am Gyrodil come? This is the same book in Anna. This book same. Book of Circle, Lord as Maxim by Frander Huntley. Thus, O Lord, as faithful ones, do we consider these maxims of the Master. Train your opponent to make the wrong response. The first action executed quicker is superior to the best action executed timidly. The thrust is elegant and cut is powerful, but sometimes the right action is headbutt. The high guard is most suitable for feints and crossovers, but mind your nature limbs. Your opponent's word is not your enemy. What's your opponent, not his word. Perfection is basic, cuts is critical, though you will never use them in battle. Close line is not open. The Na-Totambu of Yokuda. Centuries ago, before Rakara crossed the sea through the land-open breaches of Hammerfell, the ancestor of modern Redguard people lived the continent of Yokuda. The ruling body of Yokudan people, known as Na-Totambu, was Council of Kings, whose respective nations brought magnificent advances in metallurgy, agriculture, and shipbuilding unknown in modern times. When the continent of Yokuda sank beneath the waves in a great cataclysm, the Na-Totambu moved their system of government and surviving people across the sea in fearsome Rakada. Even as depleted as they were by the cataclysm, the Red Guard slashed through the desert and hence to establish their nation anew, conquering Breton, Altmer and Orc with little trouble. As the decade passed, the influence of Na-Totambu faded and Red Guard society split into primary cultural factions. The forebears, generally considered the more adaptable of the two, opened to trade with former enemies and maintained the coast ports. Inland, the crown still held much of the power and store created to the ancient Yokudan tenants. Despite this fanatical penetration, much Yokudan knowledge was lost to time and feuds between the factions. The earliest crown scholars getting inside into modern Red Guards as mere cultural shadow of the ancestors.
You come seeking soul gems, yes? Remember, to master the power of souls, one must first find peace for the soul within.
Finally we at least found one seller. But prices are high. Can we sell anything?
A healthy soul.
Okay. But it seems that I don't have anything valuable. Or child gems are only thing what I can sell. This is the same book. Tuvaka Archives Charts by Lady Chinabarat. It's not uncommon for scholars to note the clear similarities between the card sharks, Archive and Tuvaka. For particular uninspired summary of the obvious the psychobooms of Tambriel by that old proviator Brastus of Elinher, Nearly every culture of the continent worshipped these deities, and one from Undertow, indeed the Wood Elves of Valenwood, revered them both. I wish in this brief discusses them pose several questions about the origin of these cards, and speculate upon the answer to those questions. We begin with Xerxes, as his worship, at least as recorded and written in history, predates that both of Arche and Waka, an elven deity who records the life stories of all the races of Almeri. Xerxes appears in multiple creation or origin stories, many of which are inconsistent with each other. While some of these origins may be false, their multiplicity may also merely be a reflection of culture's manifold nature. In the two most origin myths, Xerxes appears as archery elf scribe, recording events at his side since the beginning of time, or as Meredith Almeri Prince of Auriel, who was elevated to divinity by higher deity. That their story is consistent with the High Elves. Consider that they are directly descended from the Hydra and can, in certain miraculous circumstances, about her size and reascend to godly status. For Altmer, Xerxes records not just the life stories of Indian elves, but all the connections of lineage and heritage that bind them together and link them to their ancestors. As nothing is more important to Altmer than his or her ancestry, it is easy to understand Xerxes' paramount role in defining and maintaining status and stability in Somerset society. Arche, of course, is one of 8 divines that were presented to the newly freed citizens of Guraril by Saint Alicia and founding of the First Empire, though official dogma of the Search of the 8 Holes that Alicia's was merely revealing to her subjects guards who had been watching over them. Olaman's cooler research of documentary fragments that survive from early in the First Era hint at a different story. Causes Tamriel tactics are well known, but I also had the privilege of studying several genetic obligations and the anonymous death song for King Darene in their original manuscript. Comparisons of the latter two against each other illuminated several previously obscure passages both, and the resulting clarification was the now unknowable as for our race records were lost in cataclysm that sank the archipelago. But as even all old Frastus had to reach the note, it cannot be coincidence that the worker performs the same functions for red guards that Arche and Xerxes do for Tamriel and Menanmer. Are these guards really separate and distinct deities, or are they all aspects of the same deity, worshipped under different names in different cultures? You must seek the answer elsewhere, but at least where the scholarship ends and theology begins.
If I find another dead cricket among these books, I'm going to place an insect ward on this whole building. Sorry, you're here to purchase, right?
He doesn't. I cannot sell these rings to him. It's odd. I have almost same stuff, but royal lineage of Sentinel. Glow, O beloved reader, that the lineage of our all-beneficial king is most royal, descending as he does from higher King Ars Arda, through King Yakir, hence Grandi Makala, who did marry the grandest manners of Amphelos, to endowing the line of the periodic blood of Meritinous. Varayas was the only issue of ever virtuous Makala and Vanis. In good time Valar Vayu, yet young prince, did take to fight Saphira, the flower of talent, and she bore him the 3 fine children. Alas, the flower of talent lost her life in giving birth to the 3rd child, as was mourned by all the red guards of Hammerfell. Nonetheless, His Royal Majesty, ever glorious Desire, she is assured in the persons of his eldest daughter, Maraya, the jewel of Satglam, his second daughter, Lakanat, the star of Amadine, and the young crown prince, Asa, the lion of Antiphilus. Song of Pelinal, Volume 5. It is solid true that Morihaus was the son of Cain, but whether or not Pelinal was indeed the Serances is best left unsaid, for Blontino, who favored the swordfield, said it that the night was mortared by the Morts. It's famous though that the two talked to each other as family, with Morihaus as the lesser, and that Pelinal loved him and called him nephew, but these could merely the fancies of immortals. Never did Pelinal counsel Morihaus in times of war, though the man fought magnificently and led men fell, and never resorted madness, but the Faistarik did warn against growing love with Perry. We are Ada more and change things to love. We must take care lest we beget more monster on this earth. If you don't desist, she will take to you, and you will transform all cruelly if you do this. And this Paul became shy, for he was bull, and he felt his form too ugly for the Paraphinia at all times, especially when she disprobed for him. He smote it though and shook his nose hoop into the light of Secunda moon, and said, "She is like his sign on my nose loop, were an accident sometimes, but when I move my head at night, she is there, and so, you know, what you ask is impossible." This I read already.
fascinating application of the technique. Welcome. Are you here on Mage's Guild business?
The Mage's Guild?
Yes, of course. We're lawkeepers across the face of Tamriel. Guild members seek out books, tomes, and ancient scrolls in their travels. Why don't you speak with me for a moment? Perhaps you'd like to join.
Oh no, the one who can recruit you for the Mage's Guild is outside of the Mage's Guild.
Always good to speak with another knowledge seeker. Guildmaster Vanus will be pleased.
What can you tell me about the Mage's Guild?
We're book hunters of a sort. We seek out new information, capture it in our libraries, and make copies for distribution across Tamriel. The Guild doesn't care about battlefields or boundaries, just knowledge and the acquisition of new tomes.
What do I get in return?
We provide training in unique spells and abilities only available to members. And from time to time, projects crop up for those with an adventuresome spirit. You may end up working with the Guildmaster himself.
You mentioned Guildmaster.
Vanus Galarian, one of the founding members of this august body, still holds the proud title of Guildmaster, overseeing every guild hall in Tamriel. He works with other ranking members, such as Tellinger, the Artificer, to ensure our future success.
I remember in Skyrim books, especially Galarian was the first one. You are not afflicted with Altmeri Dominion.
We are neutral in the war between the three alliances. When we're on guild business, we kneel to no king or queen. That's why you'll see members of every race in our halls.
Okay, I was trying to find a person inside Mage's Guild and he was actually outside the building.
Excellent. You are now a student of the Mage's Guild. Every book you find will now earn you reputation in the guild.
Yippee, if you are a guild member. Student of Mage's Guild, yeah. I want to find some kind of shopping place. Okay, this is furnishing for home or apartment. Okay, this looks good.
Look at what the bog dogs dragged in. No offense, but you look like someone who could use some supplies. Take a look.
It seems that my previous things were so don't have any value. Or then it might be I need a different store. Where is... Ah, here is bank. Okay, let's go to the bank. And then to the right. Is it up? No. Ah, okay, here. EP bank. This might be solution to my inventory is full problem.
Let me apologise for my besotted colleague. Tasting is not the same as drinking. Now, how can I help you?
Bank. Your bank stores items for all your characters to share. Press Triangle to purchase bank space. Use L1 and R1 to switch between withdraw and deposit. Crafting materials stored in your bank are put directly to you when crafting. You don't need to carry them to a crafting station. Aha, so I have bank capacity is 60. Withdraw. Deposit. Okay, let's make room. Deposit. Deposit. I need to check that it doesn't put items what I'm wearing. it looks much better. Let's check. Do I have all my... Yeah, I still have my armor. Okay, now we can do level up. We have enough room. We get reward. Different rewards. Okay, let's claim rewards. Okay, we again need to choose which one. Ito, homespun breeches, rawhide guides. Or iron legs, but I think iron legs looks good. And I will place skill point or attribute points to the magic more kind of healer type. Templar initiate, extend your knowledge on brilliant attack spells through the Templar order. Okay, I have 2. And now I can also put to the Master's Guild. There seems to be a rust ceremony. Oh, okay, there is skill advisor. Templar order. Okay, now it's Nova. Sunfire 3. But there is Solar Flare. Cast time 8.0 seconds, target enemy. Conjure a ball of solar energy to heave at an enemy, dealing 4000 magic damage. Sounds good. That sounds good. Now look what else. Puncturing strikes. Launches a range of to striking enemies in front of you 4 times with Edric's spear. The spear deals 1488 magic damage. Doan's Frat. Okay, I checked this. Restoring line. Rush ceremony. Beacon on inner light, healing yourself, food lie in front of you for 6000 health. This sounds also nice. Grand healing for regeneration. Serious stuff like giving energy, healing you or nearby ally. I think regeneration might be also very nice. Maybe I took regeneration. Now I have as a circle. Circle is a regeneration. And then can I take solar flare? And solar flare is now L1. I just checking, do we have better equipment? This is 2005 armor, adds 500. This just gives better armor, but this actually gives you experience and adds health. This is even better, increases physical and spell penetration by 2700. So I think this might be good stopping point for today. I want to thank you for watching.